It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
And we welcome you to County-Wide. I'm Paul David. Good to have you in studio with us today. Prescott Valley Police Detective James Tobin is in studio today. We're going to talk a little bit about smoking alcohol. It's something new that's been going on around. Right. So I did a little research this morning before you got here, James. Welcome to studio again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're usually here. Well, you're representing Matt Force today, as well as Prescott Valley Police Department. And I asked Marilee sent out an email, I don't know, a week or two ago about smoking alcohol. Right. And how we needed to start talking about that. Sometimes you wonder, should I talk about it? Is this going to give people ideas, or is it not going to give people ideas, or turn them the other way?
Yeah, that's the dilemma. But I think knowledge is power, and I think the more information you can get out there is not a bad thing.
Well, apparently the information's been out there for a long time, because I just went on the search engine, Google search engine this morning. I found 180,000 YouTube videos on smoking alcohol. And when I just typed in just the regular search, it came within over 101 million hits as far as different things I could go look at as far as smoking alcohol. So, and the one thing I noticed was one of the videos dated back to 2004, and there was an article about 2004 as well, that somebody actually had created a alcohol smoking device, and then the U.S. Prohibited it. Said, no, we're not going to have those, and then it kind of died off. But I guess, and this isn't something that is just for the young or the old, or be calling myself old, but everybody does this, from teenagers to adults, and I guess some bars even have it now, where they've got a special drink that you inhale it. Right. What is this?
And well, it's just another way of ingesting alcohol. With one of the appeals is that there's less calories in. You're taking in less calories because you're not actually consuming it, down into your stomach and through the small intestine and everything like that. And smoking is, if we talk about drugs that can be, like say methamphetamine, that can be smoked or dissolved in liquid to be, you can drink it, or you can use an IV drug, use it as an IV drug.
Directly into the bloodstream.
Inject it. Smoking, bang for the buck type thing is the best way to get a drug into your body, because it goes into the lungs, and then there's that transfer with the heart, the heart, and then the blood goes right to the brain, and that's the most efficient, effective way to get a drug into your body.
Quickly.
So quickly, yeah. The thing that I am alarmed about this smoking alcohol concept is that, from what I've read and what I understand about it, is most of the buzz that you get actually comes from oxygen deprivation. Okay. And so that's dangerous, because anytime you cut off the oxygen to your brain, you're killing brain cells and killing them. You're not going to get those back. Mm-hmm. So it's inherently dangerous, especially for young people if they're thinking about trying it or experimenting with it. When I taught DARE for 2 years in the Humboldt School District, and one of the drugs that we cover in DARE is inhalants, or huffing, and it's so important for kids because anything that gives off a chemical odor.
Spray paints, gasoline, all those things, right?
Yeah, nail polish remover, anything. Mm-hmm. Or magic markers. We're going to encounter those things in our life, and you're going to catch a little whiff of those things when you're, like, say, go to pump gas. Okay, you might smell some gas when you're standing there at the tank pumping it, but that's not inhaling. You're not huffing. But when you overload your brain with that chemical odor and deprive your brain of oxygen, and you get that little disorientation or buzz from that. For some people, that's an enjoyable high, and some people pursue that. And young people especially, because those things are so readily available. They can find that stuff in their garage or under the kitchen or bathroom sink or something. So that's what alarms me about this the smoking alcohol, is the oxygen deprivation component of it.
And can you explain to me how this works, how they're actually accomplishing smoking alcohol?
I think it's just in some, I don't know exactly how you're vaporizing it in some manner.
I watched a video. Yeah. I watched a YouTube video. Basically what they did was they took like a regular coffee mug like I've got right here, and they were putting a little bit of dry ice in here. Right. They would take a shot of whatever they were going to drink. It doesn't matter. Any kind of alcohol worked. And that created the reaction between the alcohol and the dry ice. Of course, the cup started to, well, the guy put the cap on and he started inhaling the vapors that were coming out. Right. And it lasted for quite a long time. And I think the video was all of maybe 2.5 minutes long, but by the end of it, he says, it works. He looks at the camera and says, it works. And so, and then as you look down the page, it's just one right after the other. There's just different ways. They've got the 2-liter bottles, and they put the cork in the top, and they've got a bicycle pump or something, and they pump it in there, and it creates the fumes. But that's how they're doing it. And I was reading a couple of articles this morning. The drinkers feel the effects almost instantly, which what you were talking about, the deprivation, but the risks are also much higher. People who smoke their alcohol are at a much greater risk of getting alcohol poisoning and potentially overdosing. And the reason they say that is because you don't know how much you're actually taking in. Right. Because, I mean, if I take a shot of alcohol, how much of that shot of alcohol is actually going to affect my perception, I guess?
Well, but that can be quantified, because we know a shot is an ounce and a half of liquor, some sort of distilled liquor. When we talk about standard drinks for purposes of court and in DUI investigations, things like that, we're talking about 12 ounces of beer, 4 ounces of wine, or an ounce and a half of distilled liquor. Could be scotch or vodka or any of those. So different weights and volumes, or different amounts, but basically all the same amount of alcohol in those drinks. So yeah, so I'm assuming in that the one you're talking about that you saw, I bet that guy was using some sort of liquor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Vodka or something.
Yeah, probably not wine or beer.
Right.
Which are fermented, not distilled. And so I would imagine, yeah, it's. But if you order, we know what a standard drink is, but. Alcohol is controlled and regulated. You go into a bar, they have regulations on how they can serve alcohol and things like that. When people get out and start using it in this manner, like you're talking about, yeah, all those regulations and concerns go out the window, and it can definitely be dangerous.
Something else I thought was interesting that I read was that people think that because they inhale the alcohol, that if they get pulled over, they can just not get a DUI.
Right.
But apparently, you still smell like alcohol.
Yeah, you're not gonna. Yeah, you don't. You're still gonna emit an odor, which officers will definitely pick up on, and you're gonna impair your ability to drive a car, if for no other reason, again, because of the oxygen deprivation and the disorientation that comes with that. And DUIs in Arizona don't just involve alcohol. There's a lot of prescription drug abuse out there, and we're seeing actually more, as many or more drug DUI cases nowadays.
I've noticed that as well.
With alcohol, yeah. I worked a DUI task force 4th of July, and I was remarking to some of the younger officers, it's just a lot more difficult to find alcohol DUI drivers out there on a holiday weekend night than it used to be. I mean, I can remember when you could make 5 stops and you'd have a DUI, which pretty much conforms with the National Traffic Safety Association tells us on a weekend night about 20%, 25% of the drivers on the road are impaired. It's getting harder and harder to find those people, and that's good because the message is gotten out there. And drunk driving has sort of been stigmatized a little bit to where people are definitely planning ahead, taking cabs, getting designated drivers, and so that's good. The roads are a little safer in that regard. Unfortunately, the drug impaired driving numbers are going up, and this would just be part of that. If you've got people, I'm pretty sure an officer with some decent training is going to be able to pick up on signs and symptoms of somebody that's smoking their alcohol.
All right, we're going to take a little break. Prescott Valley Police Detective James Tobin in studio today. I'm Paul David. We're talking about smoking alcohol. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Having a fire escape plan is very important to keep your family safe and together in the event of a fire. When you awake to the sound of a smoke detector and smoke in your room, Don't stand straight up. Carefully roll off your bed and stay low under the smoke. If your door is shut, feel the door with the back of your hand. Slowly open the door if no heat is felt. Always stay low until you get to the outside of your home. Always have 2 ways out of your house and a specified meeting place somewhere outside your home. Home escape plans should be drawn up and rehearsed on a regular basis. This could be the difference between life and death if caught in a fire.
Here in northern Arizona and throughout Yavapai County, people count on Orkin Pest Control. With over 100 years of combined experience, nobody knows how to protect your home or your business from harmful or annoying pests like the Orkin Man. To start service, contact your Northern Arizona Orkin Pest Control. In the Verde Valley, call 567-5100 or Orkin Pest Control in the Prescott area at 775-8772.
Move over, AZ. Arizona's move over law requires you to move over or slow down when you drive past any vehicle pulled over with flashing lights. Any vehicle means emergency responders, roadside assistance, law enforcement, highway crews, even stranded motorists. Ignore the law and you could pay a fine. Remember, every vehicle, every time. Move over, AZ.
Sponsored by ADOT in partnership with the Arizona Broadcasters Association and this station.
Body language can tell you all sorts of things. Like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911 and get them to a hospital immediately. Learn the body language and spot a stroke fast.
Welcome back to Countywide. It's very good to have you along. We're talking smoking alcohol with Prescott Valley Police Detective James Tobin is in studio with us today, and we're going to get on to a couple other topics here real quick. But I guess the real dangers we're talking about here is, number one, you're depriving your brain of oxygen. Number two, you're pumping, and when I talked about drinking a shot of alcohol, I think your body absorbs some of that and you don't feel the effects of it. Right. As opposed to smoking alcohol, where I think you have the entire effect. Yeah. Like an entire shot of alcohol inside there, I think you can smoke the whole thing, and your body's not dissolving any of that or taking any of that away. Its effects from you. Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah. It's hard to...
right.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of information on this. I did notice that. Right. Although there's a lot of different websites and stuff you can go to, the information on just the effects of it are... still out there, I guess is what I'm saying. But the alcohol poisoning is a major concern, overdosing on alcohol, and then also the fact that you are taking a liquid into your lungs, which most of the time that's called drowning. So that was an issue too.
Not a good thing. Right.
Now, I asked you kind of something you'd like to talk about, and the 2012 youth survey came out for Yavapai County. We've got kind of some disturbing news there.
Yeah, the Arizona Department of Justice does a survey every 2 years throughout the state, through schools. And they survey 8th, 10th, and 12th graders, and they ask them questions about their attitudes and their drug use and things like that, and perceptions of drug use in their community, in their school. And so the survey was completed in May of 2012. The results came out in October. And unfortunately, in Yavapai County, we have a lot to be proud of, but these survey numbers were pretty bad. They're going in the wrong direction. We've got our self-reported use, especially with regards to alcohol and marijuana, by our 8th, 10th, and 12th graders is on the rise, and we're above the state and national average in those areas. One good area, one good thing we can talk about is the tobacco use is on the decline with these kids in these age groups, but. A couple of things that we talked about before earlier that kind of concern me about these numbers is that the perception of risk associated with using alcohol and marijuana is really low. So not only are these kids not perceiving the health consequences, they're not perceiving the legal consequences that can come with when you get caught up in using this stuff.
Kids don't really think to themselves, I'm still developing, my brain is not as big as it's going to get, my body's not as big as it's going to get, and we're bulletproof when we're kids too.
You're right, and it's a vicious cycle because alcohol and marijuana are disinhibitors and they increase risk taking. So when you've got young people who their brains are still developing till the age of 25, we also know when they drink, they tend to binge drink. You know, they drink for the purpose of getting drunk.
Sure.
And that can be dangerous. That is dangerous to a developing brain. It sets you up for a lot of problems. In addition to that, when they hang out with their friends and they engage in this behavior, there's sometimes collateral crimes that occur, sexual assaults, robberies, and all kind of violent, physical violence between people, and those things tend to not go reported because they're engaging in illegal activity to begin with, so they don't want to bring attention to that situation. So all kinds of bad scenarios that can happen with that.
Do you think 8th, 10th, and 12th graders, maybe some of them are a little more apt to say, oh yeah, we do that just to be cool, and maybe the numbers aren't as accurate as they could be? You
know what, I'll be honest with you, Paul, I talked to a group of kids in Prescott about this. We went over some of these numbers last week, and they actually think the numbers are low. These kids, and these are about 15, 16-year-olds.
Okay, so more kids, it seems like, are probably holding back saying, well, no, I don't do that, right. But in actuality they are.
Yeah, and another part of that, the perception of risk is pretty low, and the kids that are reporting usage are saying that 60% say their parents have a favorable view of their drug use and their behavior and activity in those regards.
That's odd.
That's odd, and it's high, and as a police officer it's very discouraging because we can't do it. Obviously, we can't do it by ourselves. We rely on the fact that there's some sort of structure there at the home, at home on that level that's gonna be a secondary line of defense where
well, it should be first, actually. It should be first and you're secondary.
Yeah, exactly, right. I mean, but unfortunately that table is has turned sometimes, and I talk to a lot of people, my generation and older, who talk about when they were kids, they weren't so scared of the cops, they were scared of what their mom and dad was going to do to them.
Or even the neighbor.
Yeah. Or, if they got called down to the principal's office, they weren't worried about what the principal was going to do to them, but yeah, there was a lot, and that seems to have kind of gone away a little bit, unfortunately. And these things are community problems, and so I applaud people that stand up for it, and parents that get involved and be nosy. There's a lot of this social media stuff where things come out and parents will reluctantly get involved. They don't want to pry and get into their kids, into their personal space on that way. But if you're, parents have to do their job.
Do kids have personal space right now? Don't they get their personal space when they hit 18?
Well, it seems like it's more like 12 now, where kids are getting the laptop and the smartphone, and
they have access to everything.
Yeah, and they just go
pretty
off.
much.
Yeah, and they go off on their own. And I've said it before, maybe it's a little bit over exaggeration, but it sort of reminds me of that book Lord of the Flies, when we all read when we were kids about the kids that land on the island, and there's no parents, and they kind of form no adults, and they kind of form into this little society.
Your two little governments going on.
Yeah, and by the end of the book, they turn into wild savages, and because there's no supervision, there's no society norms involved. And I see a lot, it seems like to me a lot of times we have these kids, teenagers, just raising themselves and with their friends, and the parents are standing off on the side letting them go. And I understand, parents are busy, everybody's working, everybody's, there's a lot of two income families now, or single mom or single dad, and I get that. But parents definitely should not abdicate their job of being a parent, and you've got to be nosy. You've got to be involved in what these kids are involved in.
Yeah.
And I don't know any other way to say that. But it seems like that's changing a little bit. And it seems like maybe that's sort of like an antiquated view of things. But I think the kids that do well through high school and beyond tend to be the kids that have that supervision, or at least that parental involvement.
Yeah, parental participation. We have to take another break. Prescott Valley Police Detective James Tobit in studio today. We talked about smoking alcohol, the 2012 youth survey, which puts Yavapai County, what did you say?
Well, we're
above national average.
Yeah, in the percentage of kids that are reporting use.
is also above.
Is above the national
All right.
and state averages.
All right, so we're going to be back with Countywide in just a couple minutes. You stick around.
Having a fire escape plan is very important to keep your family safe and together in the event of a fire. When you awake to the sound of a smoke detector and smoke in your room, don't stand straight up. Carefully roll off your bed and stay low under the smoke. If your door is shut, feel the door with the back of your hand. Slowly open the door if no heat is felt. Always stay low until you get to the outside of your home. Always have 2 ways out of your house and a specified meeting place somewhere outside your home. Home escape plans should be drawn up and rehearsed on a regular basis. This could be the difference between life and death if caught in a fire.
Here in northern Arizona and throughout Yavapai County, people count on Orkin Pest Control. With over 100 years of combined experience, nobody knows how to protect your home or your business from harmful or annoying pests like the Orkin Man. To start service, contact your Northern Arizona Orkin Pest Control. In the Verde Valley, call 567-5100 or Orkin Pest Control in the Prescott area at 775-8772.
Move over, AZ. Arizona's move over law requires you to move over or slow down when you drive past any vehicle pulled over with flashing lights. Any vehicle means emergency responders, roadside assistance, law enforcement, highway crews, even stranded motorists. Ignore the law and you could pay a fine. Remember, every vehicle, every time. Move over, AZ.
Sponsored by ADOT in partnership with the Arizona Broadcasters Association and this station.
Body language can tell you all sorts of things. Like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911 and get them to a hospital immediately. Learn the body language and spot a stroke fast.
Welcome back to Countywide. Good to have you along. Prescott Valley Police Detective James Tobin is in studio today. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
And we've got just a couple minutes left in the program, but we wanted to hit medical marijuana real fast.
Right. Yeah,
we've got a drive going on in the state right now to actually legalize marijuana. And we just, well, I guess, I don't know, a few years back, we got the medical marijuana started.
Right. Yeah, so we are a medical marijuana state now, and we seem to kind of be following the trend that we've seen in Colorado and Washington State, where medical comes first and it kind of gets normalized, and then down the road you start to see initiatives to decriminalize or legalize. And Matt Force, which I'm associated with through the Underage Drinking Task Force and also the Speakers Bureau, has a really good new program out there called Marijuana Harmless, Think Again. Mm-hmm. And it's just to counterweigh some of these opinions, especially that young people have, or perceptions about marijuana, about how safe it is and how it is medicine and all this other stuff. I mentioned before I taught DARE. And when Colorado, at that time was when Colorado went medical marijuana, probably 2008, 2009, I had questions daily from these fifth graders about medical marijuana. And because it wasn't even in Arizona at that time. It was just stuff they were hearing in the media, or their parents talking about it, or their friends talking about it. And that's just a way of normalizing it. So people think, well, how can this be harmful or bad if it's medicine? But one of the things we mentioned before, some numbers are starting to come in. So we have 37,000 medical marijuana card holders in Arizona, and a pretty high percentage of those in Yavapai County. I don't know the exact number, but per capita, it's pretty high in Yavapai County. So we think, well, getting back to the medical aspect of it, people say, well, marijuana stimulates the appetite, and it helps with the nausea associated, say, with somebody who's taking chemotherapy for cancer. So that would be good for them. It would have a palliative effect for them, stimulate their appetite and help them with some of their issues that they're dealing with. Less than 2% of the cards that have been issued are for cancer patients. Over 70% of the cards that have been issued are for people with self-described and pretty much self-diagnosed chronic pain. In addition to that, over 70% of the cards are issued to men under the age of 40.
Well, we're out of time. We're out of time. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Prescott Valley Police Detective James Tobin is in studio today. You can find out more about the medical marijuana issue and what's going on with that, as well as the idea to legalize it completely in the state of Arizona right now. Petitions are being circulated. That's today's Countywide. We will talk to you again next time.
This has been Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcasting station.